Before we begin, if you believe that character is the truest currency and that a single act of integrity can unlock a destiny far richer than any bank account, then you are in for a remarkable journey. This is the story of a hard-working, down-on-his-luck mechanic, his hands stained with grease but his heart pure gold, who encounters a young woman stranded with a broken-down classic car. He offers his skill and his kindness without a thought for reward, completely unaware that this seemingly ordinary traveler is, in fact, a reclusive billionaire heiress, weary of a world of artifice on a secret quest to find a man of genuine honesty. What unfolds from this chance meeting on a dusty roadside is a tale of hidden identities, tested values, and a love story so unexpected, so transformative, it will reaffirm your faith in the extraordinary power of a good heart. Hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications, because you won't want to miss a single moment of how this simple act of service paves the road to an unimaginable future. Now, let the story begin. Ethan, Eth. Bailey lived his life under the hood of other people's broken dreams, his small struggling garage on the sun-baked edge of nowhere, a testament to his skill, his honesty, and his perpetually empty pockets. A widower for 5 years, after losing his high school sweetheart, Clara, to a sudden illness that had shattered his world, Ethan poured all his energy, all his love, into raising their bright, inquisitive 8-year-old daughter, Lily. Their small, rented bungalow, with its perpetually squeaky screen door and a yard full of Lily's imaginative, half-finished inventions, was a haven of warmth and love. But the shadow of financial insecurity loomed large. Ethan was a master mechanic, his hands possessing an almost intuitive understanding of engines, a talent inherited from his own father. He could coax life back into the most stubborn of machines, but he couldn't, for the love of him, charge what his skills were truly worth, especially not to the other struggling folks in their small, forgotten town. His integrity was as much a part of him as the grease permanently etched into the lines of his palms, but it didn't pay the overdue electricity bill or fill Lily's school lunchbox. He dreamt of a day when he wouldn't have to choose between a new set of tires for his aging tow truck and a much-needed dental visit for Lily, a day when the gnawing anxiety of what if would finally quiet. One sweltering Tuesday afternoon, the kind where the heat shimmered off the asphalt in dizzying waves and the air hung thick and heavy, Ethan was wrestling with the recalcitrant engine of old Mrs. Henderson's ancient pickup when a call came in. A breakdown on the deserted stretch of Highway 17, about 10 miles out of town. He sighed, wiping sweat and grease from his brow with the back of his hand. Roadside calls were often more trouble than they were worth, but a job was a job, and Lily needed new sneakers. He climbed into his battered tow truck, its engine groaning in protest, and headed out into the shimmering heat. He found her standing beside a vehicle that made his mechanic's heart skip a beat. A vintage, cherry-red 1967 Ford Mustang Shelby GT500, a true classic, its iconic lines a stark, beautiful contrast to the dusty, desolate landscape. Its hood was up, a faint wisp of steam a telltale sign of distress, and beside it, looking as out of place as the Mustang itself, was a young woman. She was dressed simply, in faded jeans, a plain white t-shirt, and scuffed cowboy boots, her honey-blonde hair pulled back in a loose, practical ponytail. But there was an understated elegance about her, a quiet intelligence in her clear, hazel eyes that belied her simple attire. She looked more like a lost college student on a cross-country adventure than someone who typically drove a car worth more than Ethan's entire garage. She offered a wry, apologetic smile as Ethan pulled up. "Having a bit of car trouble, are we?" Ethan asked, his voice calm, professional, though his mind was already cataloging the potential issues with a machine of that vintage and power. "You could say that," the young woman replied, her voice surprisingly soft with a musical lilt. "She just gave up on me." Started sputtering, then a rather dramatic sigh, and then silence. She gestured towards the silent engine with a graceful, almost delicate hand. "I'm afraid I'm not much of a mechanic. My name's Anya, by the way." "Ethan Bailey," he said, offering a greasy but firm handshake. "Let's take a look." He peered under the hood, his experienced eyes quickly scanning the intricate web of wires, hoses, and polished chrome. The engine was immaculate, clearly well-maintained, which made the sudden breakdown even more puzzling. Anya stood beside him, watching with a quiet, intelligent curiosity, asking surprisingly astute questions, not the usual panicked, uninformed queries he often got from stranded motorists. She seemed genuinely interested in the mechanics of her magnificent machine. It didn't take Ethan long to diagnose the problem. A faulty distributor cap, a relatively minor issue, but one that could certainly leave a classic car dead in its tracks. "Got a spare one back at the shop that should fit," he said. "I can tow you in, get it fixed up in an hour or so." "Oh, that would be wonderful," Anya said, a wave of genuine relief washing over her face. "You have no idea how grateful I'd be." The tow back to Ethan's garage was filled with easy, comfortable conversation. Anya, despite her initial reserve, proved to be a surprisingly engaging conversationalist. She spoke of her love for classic cars, her appreciation for craftsmanship, her quiet observations about the stark beauty of the desert landscape they were driving through. She didn't talk about herself much, offered no details about where she was from or where she was going, but she listened intently when Ethan spoke of Lily, of his small garage, of the quiet challenges and simple joys of his life. There was a warmth about her, a genuine empathy that Ethan found himself responding to, a rare and welcome connection in his usually solitary world. Back at the garage, Ethan worked with his usual focused efficiency, his skilled hands moving with a practiced grace over the Mustang's powerful engine. Anya watched him, not with impatience but with a quiet, appreciative attention, occasionally handing him a tool, her presence surprisingly comfortable, almost companionable. Lily arrived from school, dropped off by the neighbor's carpool, and her eyes widened at the sight of the gleaming red Mustang. She was, of course, instantly captivated by Anya, plying her with a barrage of questions about the car, about her travels, about whether or not she knew any princesses. Anya, to Ethan's surprise, handled Lily's exuberant curiosity with a natural, easy charm, answering her questions with a gentle humor and a patient smile. When the Mustang's engine finally roared back to life, its powerful V8 thrumming with a satisfying, healthy growl, Anya's face lit up with a genuine, heartfelt delight. "You're a magician, Ethan Bailey," she said, her hazel eyes shining. "How much do I owe you?" Ethan mentally tallied the cost of the distributor cap, his time, the tow. He could, he knew, charge her a premium, given the car, the remote location, her clear ability to pay. But that wasn't his way. "Tell you what," he said, wiping his hands on an already grease-stained rag. "Let's call it $50, for the part and a little for my time." Anya stared at him, her perfectly sculpted eyebrows shooting up in surprise. 50? Ethan, that's incredibly generous. Too generous. This car, a tow, your skill, it's worth far more than that. Ethan shrugged, a faint, uncomfortable flush rising on his cheeks. "It was an easy fix," he said. "And besides," he added, a twinkle in his eye, "it's not every day I get to work on a beauty like this. Consider it a professional courtesy." Anya looked at him for a long, searching moment, her gaze intense, unreadable. Then she did something unexpected. She reached into her worn denim bag and pulled out not a sleek designer wallet, but a simple, hand-stitched leather pouch. From it, she extracted a crisp, new $50 bill, and then another. 100, she said, pressing the bills into his reluctant hand. 50 for the car, and 50 for restoring a little bit of my faith in human nature. Ethan Bailey. Before he could protest, she smiled, a genuine, radiant smile that transformed her already lovely face into something breathtaking. "And perhaps," she added, her voice a little softer now, "if you and Lily are free for dinner tonight, I'd love to buy you both the best steak in whatever town this is, as a further thank you." Ethan, caught off guard by her directness, by the warmth in her eyes, by the unexpected, almost forgotten feeling of a genuine human connection, found himself saying, "We'd like that very much, Anya. Very much indeed." He had no idea, as he watched her climb back into her magnificent Mustang, its engine purring like a contented panther, that Anya was not just a stranded traveler with a love for classic cars. She was Anastasia Anya Sterling, the reclusive, media-shy, and incredibly wealthy heiress to the Sterling global conglomerate. A young woman who had, in a moment of profound disillusionment with her gilded, artificial world, embarked on a secret, anonymous journey across the country. A journey to find something real, something genuine, something honest. And she had a strong, electrifying suspicion that she might have just found it, covered in grease in a small, struggling garage on the edge of nowhere. The best steak in town, as it turned out, was at O'Malley's Roadside Diner, a local institution whose faded neon sign cast a welcoming, if somewhat flickering glow in the encroaching twilight. The ambiance was more formica and friendly chatter than fine dining, but the steaks, as promised by the grizzled, smiling waitress who called everyone Han, were surprisingly, deliciously perfect. Ethan, Lily, and Anya sat tucked into a worn vinyl booth, the air filled with the comforting aroma of grilled meat, fried onions, and strong coffee. Lily, perched between them, was in her element, regaling Anya with an animated, detailed account of her latest school project, a surprisingly accurate, if somewhat creatively embellished, diorama of the solar system, complete with glitter-glue asteroid belts and a tinfoil-covered Mars. Anya listened with a genuine, captivated attention, her hazel eyes sparkling with amusement, asking insightful questions that made Lily giggle with delight. Ethan watched them, a quiet, unfamiliar warmth spreading through his chest. It had been so long, too long, since he had shared a simple, relaxed meal like this, so long since he had seen Lily so animated, so happy, in the company of someone other than himself. He found himself studying Anya, really studying her in the warm, forgiving light of the diner. She was, he realized, beautiful, not in a flashy, obvious way, but with a quiet, understated elegance that emanated from within. There was a depth to her, a keen intelligence in her eyes, a subtle, almost wistful sadness that flickered at the edges of her smile, hinting at a story, a life, far more complex than her simple attire and unassuming demeanor suggested. She asked him about his garage, about the challenges of running a small business in a town that was slowly, inexorably, fading. He spoke honestly, without embellishment, of the constant struggle, the long hours, the tight margins, but also of the quiet satisfaction of fixing things, of helping people, of keeping his father's legacy alive. He didn't dwell on his hardships, didn't seek pity, but Anya, he sensed, understood more than she let on. She had a way of listening, a quiet, empathetic intensity that made him feel seen. Truly seen. "You're a good man, Ethan Bailey," she said softly, after he'd finished recounting a particularly frustrating encounter with a supplier who had tried to overcharge him for a crucial part. "An honest man. That's a rare and valuable thing." Ethan felt a flush rise on his cheeks, unused to such direct personal praise. "Just try to do right by people," he mumbled, suddenly engrossed in cutting Lily's steak into manageable, bite-sized pieces. "It's not always the easiest way, but it's the only way I know." Anya's gaze softened, a thoughtful, almost tender expression settling on her face. She didn't press, didn't pry, but Ethan had the distinct, unsettling, yet not entirely unpleasant, feeling that she was seeing right through him, past the grease stains and the worn work clothes, to the very core of who he was. As they were finishing their meal, a group of local ranchers, regulars at O'Malley's, ambled in, their boisterous laughter and loud greetings filling the small diner. One of them, a burly, red-faced man named Hank, spotted Ethan and swaggered over to their booth. "Well, well, if it ain't Ethan Bailey," Hank boomed, his gaze flicking dismissively over Anya before settling on Ethan. Heard you were playing hero out on Highway 17 today. Fixed up some fancy city woman's broke-down hot rod." Ethan tensed, his hand instinctively going to Lily's shoulder. He didn't like Hank, didn't like his loud, often cruel, brand of humor. "Just doing my job, Hank," Ethan said quietly, his voice even. "Yeah, well, some folks say you ain't charging what that job is worth," Hank sneered, leaning closer, his breath smelling faintly of stale beer. "Letting pretty faces get away with murder, are you, Bailey? Or maybe she paid you in other ways?" A wave of cold, furious anger surged through Ethan. He started to rise, his fists clenching, but Anya's hand, surprisingly strong, surprisingly steady, gently touched his arm. "Actually," Anya said, her voice calm, clear, and carrying an unexpected, almost regal authority that made Hank blink in surprise, "Mr. Bailey was exceptionally professional, incredibly skilled and remarkably fair. Far fairer, I suspect, than some of the other business practices I've encountered in this charming little town." She looked directly at Hank, her hazel eyes now glinting with a cool, unwavering fire. "And for your information, I paid him quite well for his excellent service. In cash. Perhaps you should try valuing honesty and skill sometime, mister. It might improve your own bottom line, and your manners." Hank, momentarily stunned into silence by this unexpected, articulate, and undeniably formidable defense from the fancy city woman, stammered a hasty, mumbled apology and retreated, red-faced, back to his guffawing companions. The diner fell into a sudden, awkward hush. Ethan stared at Anya, speechless, a mixture of astonishment, admiration, and a profound, overwhelming gratitude washing over him. No one, not since Clara, had ever stood up for him like that, had ever defended his integrity with such quiet, unshakable ferocity. Lily, sensing the shift in atmosphere, looked from Anya to her father, her small face a mask of confusion. Anya simply smiled at her, a warm, reassuring smile, then turned back to Ethan, her eyes soft once more. "Some people," she said quietly, "just don't appreciate the value of a good heart, do they?" As they walked out of the diner into the cool, starlit night, a comfortable and almost companionable silence settled between them. Lily, her earlier exuberance now tempered by a sleepy contentment, held both their hands, swinging gently between them. "Thank you, Anya," Ethan said at last, his voice a little rough. For what you said in there. You didn't have to do that." Anya squeezed his hand briefly. "Yes, Ethan," she said softly. "I did. Some things are worth fighting for." They reached her Mustang, its cherry-red paint gleaming under the soft glow of the diner's neon sign. "Well," Anya said, a hint of reluctance in her voice, "I guess this is... good night." "Good night, Anya," Ethan replied, a similar reluctance echoing in his own tone. He didn't want this evening to end. He didn't want her to go. Will you be heading out in the morning?" he asked, trying to keep his voice casual. Anya hesitated, her gaze distant for a moment. I'm not sure yet," she said slowly. "This town, your town, it's given me a lot to think about." She looked at him then, a small, enigmatic smile playing on her lips. Perhaps I'll see you around, Ethan Bailey." And with a final warm glance at Lily, she slipped into the driver's seat of her magnificent car, its powerful engine roaring to life with a smooth, confident growl, and disappeared into the darkness, leaving Ethan standing there, Lily's small hand still in his heart filled with a strange, unfamiliar mixture of hope, confusion, and a profound, undeniable sense of having just encountered something truly extraordinary. He still had no idea just how extraordinary she truly was, but he was beginning to suspect that his quiet, predictable life was about to become anything but. Anya Sterling did not leave Oakhaven the next morning. Instead, she checked into the town's only motel, a slightly faded but clean establishment called the Dusty Cactus, its neon sign missing a C. She told herself it was because her Mustang needed a more thorough checkup after its roadside mishap that she wanted to explore the stark, unique beauty of the surrounding desert landscape. But, deep down, she knew the real reason she was staying was Ethan Bailey. There was something about the quiet, unassuming mechanic, his unwavering integrity, his gentle kindness, his fierce, protective love for his daughter, that had captivated her, had resonated with a part of her soul that had long felt dormant, almost numb. In her world, the world of unimaginable wealth, of corporate intrigue, of carefully constructed facades and transactional relationships, genuine honesty was a rare, almost mythical commodity. She had embarked on this anonymous cross-country journey, shedding her sterling identity, her security detail, her life of suffocating privilege, in a desperate, almost quixotic quest to find it, to prove to herself that it still existed. And in Ethan Bailey, she sensed she had found not just a flicker of it, but a blazing, unshakable beacon. Over the next few days, Anya found subtle, unobtrusive ways to cross paths with Ethan. She'd bring her Mustang back to his garage for a minor adjustment, a strange noise only she seemed to hear, creating opportunities for quiet conversation, for shared cups of lukewarm coffee amidst the familiar, comforting clutter of his workshop. She'd accidentally bump into him and Lily at the small-town park, at the local library, her presence always casual, unforced, yet undeniably, purposefully there. Ethan, initially surprised by her continued presence in their small, uneventful town, soon found himself looking forward to these chance encounters. He enjoyed her company, her intelligent conversation, her quiet, observant wit. He liked the way her hazel eyes lit up when she spoke of something that truly interested her, the way she listened, truly listened, when he spoke of his own quiet life, his hopes, his fears. He found himself talking to her more openly, more honestly than he had with anyone since Clara. There was a safety in her presence, an acceptance, that was both disarming and deeply comforting. Lily, of course, was overjoyed. She adored Anya, her Mustang lady, and chattered endlessly about her new friend, her imaginative stories now often featuring a brave, adventurous heroine with honey-blonde hair and a cherry-red chariot. The townsfolk, initially suspicious of this elegant, enigmatic stranger, began to soften, their curiosity gradually giving way to a grudging, then genuine acceptance. Anya, with her quiet grace, her unassuming friendliness, her genuine interest in their small-town lives, slowly, subtly began to win them over. She'd spend hours at Mrs. Henderson's bakery, not just buying pastries, but listening to the old woman's stories, offering a quiet, empathetic ear. She'd help Mr. Abernathy at the hardware store decipher a particularly complex supplier invoice, her sharp business acumen, though carefully concealed, occasionally, usefully, emerging. She was, they began to realize, more than just a pretty face with an expensive car. She was nice, genuinely, unexpectedly nice. One afternoon, Anya found Ethan at his garage, his face grim, his shoulders slumped in a way she hadn't seen before. The ancient, vital hydraulic lift, the backbone of his small operation, had finally, catastrophically, given out. The repair costs, he told her, his voice heavy with a despair he couldn't quite conceal, were astronomical, far beyond his meager means. Without the lift, his ability to take on larger, more lucrative jobs was crippled. It was, he admitted, a potentially fatal blow to his already struggling business. Anya listened, her heart aching for him, for the quiet, crushing weight of his relentless financial burdens. She knew, with a certainty that was both exhilarating and terrifying, that she could solve this problem for him with a single phone call, a flick of her pen. The cost of a new hydraulic lift was, to her, a mere rounding error. But she also knew, with an equal certainty, that Ethan Bailey was a man of immense pride, of unshakable integrity. He would never accept charity, especially not from her, not from the woman he still knew only as Anya. the friendly, slightly mysterious traveler with a classic car. So she did something else. She researched. She made discreet inquiries. She discovered a little-known grant program offered by a philanthropic arm of a large automotive corporation designed to support small, independent garage owners in underserved rural communities. The application process was complex, daunting, but Anya, with her years of navigating intricate corporate structures, her innate understanding of bureaucratic language, was uniquely equipped to help. She spent the next few days with Ethan, ostensibly helping him organize his paperwork, but in reality meticulously guiding him through the grant application, her sharp intellect and quiet tenacity transforming a seemingly hopeless situation into a tangible, achievable goal. Ethan, initially skeptical, found himself caught up in her quiet, focused energy, his own hope, long dormant, slowly, tentatively, reawakening. They worked late into the nights, fueled by lukewarm coffee and a shared, unspoken determination, the small, cluttered office of his garage filled with the quiet hum of their collaboration. And in those shared hours, amidst piles of invoices and grant proposal drafts, something new, something profound, began to blossom between them. A partnership, a deep, mutual respect, and the first, fragile, almost invisible tendrils of a love neither of them had expected, neither of them had been looking for, but which was, nonetheless, undeniably, irrevocably, taking root. The grant application, meticulously prepared, compellingly argued, was submitted. And then they waited. The waiting was a quiet agony for Ethan, a return to the familiar, gnawing anxiety of uncertainty. But for Anya, it was a different kind of waiting. It was the anticipation of a plan set in motion, a plan that went far beyond a new hydraulic lift. It was a plan to, perhaps, finally, reveal her true self, her true world, to this good, honest man who had, with his simple, unwavering integrity, shown her what it truly meant to be rich, in all the ways that truly mattered. The letter arrived on a crisp, clear Tuesday morning. Its official-looking envelope, a stark, unwelcome presence in the usual jumble of bills and flyers in Ethan Bailey's postbox. His hand trembled slightly as he picked it up. The return address, Automotive Excellence Foundation, sending a jolt of nervous anticipation through him. This was it. The grant decision. He carried it into the small, sun-drenched kitchen of his bungalow, where Anya was sharing a quiet breakfast with Lily, their easy laughter a familiar, comforting sound that had become the new soundtrack to his mornings. He paused in the doorway, the unopened envelope suddenly feeling impossibly heavy in his hand. Anya looked up, her hazel eyes instantly registering the tension in his posture, the unspoken anxiety in his gaze. Her smile faltered slightly. "Ethan, is everything all right?" He managed a weak, forced smile. It's here," he said, holding up the envelope. "The grant decision." A hush fell over the small kitchen. Even Lily seemed to sense the gravity of the moment, her bright, inquisitive eyes fixed on her father's face. Anya rose slowly from the table, her own expression a mixture of hope and a carefully concealed apprehension. She knew, better than Ethan, the often capricious nature of such decisions, the layers of bureaucracy, the unpredictable human element. She had, of course, used her own discreet, anonymous influence to ensure his application received the attention it deserved, but there were never any guarantees. "Well," she said, her voice surprisingly calm, steady, "are you going to open it? Or shall we just stare at it until it magically reveals its secrets?" Ethan took a deep breath, his gaze meeting hers, finding a quiet strength, a shared resolve, in her steady, unwavering eyes. He tore open the envelope. His eyes scanned the dense official text, his heart pounding, his breath catching in his throat. Then, a slow, incredulous smile began to spread across his face, a smile so wide, so radiant, it seemed to light up the entire room. "We got it, Anya," he whispered, his voice choked with emotion. We got it. The full amount. Enough for the new lift, for the new diagnostic equipment, for For everything. He looked at her, his eyes shining with unshed tears, with a gratitude so profound it was almost painful to witness. I don't know how to thank you. Without your help, without your belief, this wouldn't have happened. Anya's own eyes were suspiciously bright. You did the hard work, Ethan, she said softly. You built this garage with your own 2 hands, with your honesty, your integrity. You earned this. I helped you navigate the paperwork. But they both knew it was more than that. It was a turning point, a tangible symbol of a new beginning, a future that suddenly felt brighter, more hopeful than either of them had dared to imagine. The news of Ethan's grant and the subsequent arrival and installation of the gleaming new hydraulic lift and state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment sent a ripple of quiet excitement through the small town of Oakhaven. Ethan's garage, once a symbol of his quiet and almost heroic struggle, was now a beacon of renewed hope, of possibility. Business picked up. Customers, drawn by the garage's enhanced capabilities and Ethan's unwavering reputation for honesty and skill, began to arrive not just from Oakhaven, but from neighboring towns, their once skeptical glances now replaced by expressions of genuine respect and admiration. Ethan worked harder than ever, but now it was a different kind of work, fueled not by desperation, but by a quiet, joyful sense of purpose. He hired a young apprentice from the local high school, a bright, eager kid named Billy, passing on his own hard-won knowledge, his passion for mechanics, his unwavering commitment to quality and integrity. He was no longer just surviving. He was thriving. And through it all, Anya was there, a quiet, steadfast presence in his life. She continued to stay at the Dusty Cactus, her reasons for remaining in Oakhaven still unspoken, still a mystery. But her connection to Ethan, to Lily, to the small, unassuming town that had so unexpectedly captured her heart, deepened with each passing day. Their love, for that is what it undeniably, beautifully had become, was a quiet, mature affection, built not on grand, dramatic pronouncements, but on a foundation of shared experiences, of mutual respect, of a deep, intuitive understanding of each other's souls. They spent their evenings together, sometimes in comfortable silence, sometimes in long, meandering conversations that touched on everything and nothing, their connection a warm, steady flame that illuminated the quiet corners of their lives. Lily, of course, was their joyful, unwavering center, her innocent, unconditional love a constant reminder of the simple, profound beauty of family, however unconventionally formed. One cool, starlit evening, as they sat on the porch of Ethan's bungalow, the scent of Anya's freshly baked apple pie drifting from the open kitchen window, Anya knew it was time to share her truth, her whole truth, with this good, honest man who had, with his simple, unwavering kindness, shown her a different way to live, a different way to love. "Ethan," she began, her voice a little shaky, her heart pounding, There's something I need to tell you. Something about who I am, about why I was really on that deserted highway that day." Ethan turned to her, his gaze gentle, patient, his hand instinctively reaching for hers, his touch warm, reassuring. "I'm listening, Anya," he said softly. "Whatever it is, we'll face it. Together." And so, under the vast, indifferent canopy of the desert stars, Anya Sterling, the reclusive billionaire heiress, began to tell her story, her whole story, to Ethan Bailey, the honest, hard-working mechanic who had, with nothing more than a kind heart and a shared meal, unknowingly, miraculously, saved her from a life of gilded loneliness and shown her the way back to her own true, authentic self. The truth, when it finally, fully, unspooled, was a revelation. Yes, but not a barrier. For Ethan, it changed nothing, and yet it changed everything. It didn't alter his love for Anya, for the woman he had come to know, to respect, to cherish. But it did cast their chance encounter, their shared journey in a new, almost mythical light. It was a testament, he realized, to the extraordinary, unpredictable, and infinitely beautiful ways in which life and love can work, if only you have the courage to offer a helping hand, to open your heart, to believe in the quiet, unassuming magic of an honest man, and an equally honest, if secretly very wealthy, woman. Their future, he knew, would be anything but ordinary. But it would be theirs, and it would be built, like everything else they had shared, on a foundation of truth, of integrity, and of a love that was, in every sense of the word, priceless. The revelation of Anya Sterling's true identity, as the sole, incredibly wealthy heiress to the global Sterling conglomerate, did not, as she had perhaps secretly feared, shatter the fragile, beautiful world she had begun to build with Ethan Bailey in the quiet, unassuming town of Oakhaven. Instead, it seemed to solidify it, to imbue their connection with a new, almost surreal, layer of depth and destiny. Ethan, after the initial, understandable shock, had reacted not with awe, or greed, or resentment, but with a quiet, unwavering understanding, and an even deeper, more profound respect for the woman who had chosen to walk away from a life of unimaginable privilege in search of something real, something true. "It doesn't change anything, Anya," he had said simply, his gaze steady, his hand still holding hers. "Not for me. You're still the woman who shared lukewarm coffee in my cluttered garage, who taught Lily how to make a perfect paper airplane, who stood up to Hank O'Malley with more courage than I've seen in a lifetime. That's who I fell in love with. The rest is just details." And in his simple, heartfelt words, Anya found the ultimate validation, the ultimate peace. He saw her, truly saw her, not as Anya Sterling, the billionaire, but as Anya, the woman, the person. And that was all that had ever truly mattered. Their life together, however, did inevitably and wonderfully change. With Anya's resources now openly, joyfully, integrated into their shared future, the constant, gnawing anxieties of financial insecurity that had plagued Ethan for so long finally, blessedly, vanished. He was able to expand his garage, to hire more local apprentices, to create a thriving, community-focused business built on the same principles of honesty and integrity that had first drawn Anya to him. He established a vocational training program for underprivileged youth, teaching them the skills of mechanics, the value of hard work, the dignity of a trade well mastered. Anya, meanwhile, with her sharp intellect, her vast business acumen, and her newfound passion for making a tangible, positive difference in the world, established the Sterling Bailey Foundation, a philanthropic organization dedicated to supporting small, independent businesses in underserved rural communities, to fostering education, and to promoting the very values of integrity and honest craftsmanship that had been the genesis of their own improbable love story. They didn't move to a mansion in the city. They stayed in Oakhaven, in Ethan's now beautifully renovated, but still comfortably unassuming, bungalow. They expanded it, yes, adding a spacious, sun-drenched studio for Anya's burgeoning, and surprisingly successful, under an anonymous pseudonym, career as a textile artist and a state-of-the-art workshop for Ethan. But it remained, at its heart, a home, filled with love, laughter, and the happy, chaotic energy of Lily, who thrived in the secure, nurturing environment her two beloved parents had created. The cherry-red 1967 Ford Mustang Shelby GT500, once a symbol of Anya's anonymous escape, now sat proudly in their driveway, a cherished reminder of a chance encounter on a dusty roadside that had changed everything. They often took it out for long, leisurely drives through the stark, beautiful desert landscape, Lily giggling in the back seat, the powerful engine thrumming a song of freedom, of love, of a future as vast and as promising as the endless blue sky above them. The townsfolk of Oakhaven, once mystified by the elegant stranger in their midst, eventually, joyfully, embraced Anya as one of their own, not as a billionaire heiress, but as Ethan Bailey's kind, intelligent, and surprisingly down-to-earth partner, a woman who contributed generously but quietly to their small community, who always had a warm smile, a listening ear, and a freshly baked pie, a skill she had with much trial and error and Mrs. Henderson's patient tutelage finally mastered. Their story became a local legend, a quiet testament to the extraordinary, unpredictable, and infinitely beautiful ways in which love can blossom in the most unexpected of places, between the most unlikely of souls. It was a story of a poor mechanic who had, with a simple act of kindness, repaired more than just a classic car. He had mended a fractured heart, restored a lost faith, and in doing so, had found his own, priceless and richly deserved, happily ever after. And Anya Sterling, the secret billionaire who had been searching for an honest man, had found so much more. She had found a home. She had found a family. She had found a love that was as real, as true, and as enduring as the desert stars that glittered each night above their small, unassuming, and extraordinarily happy corner of the world. Wow! What a truly heartwarming and inspiring journey of integrity, hidden identities, and the beautiful, unexpected ways love can blossom from the simplest acts of kindness. Ethan and Anya's story is a powerful reminder that true wealth isn't measured in dollars but in the richness of character, the strength of connection, and the courage to seek and to offer genuine human decency. It's a narrative that just makes you believe in the good in the world. But now, I am so very eager to hear from all of you. Please take a moment to share in the comments below. Where in the world are you joining us from today as you experience this wonderful story? And what was the specific moment, or perhaps the overarching theme, in the journey of Ethan and Anya that resonated most deeply with your own heart and experiences? Was it Ethan's unwavering honesty despite his struggles, Anya's courageous quest for authenticity, or perhaps the beautiful, quiet evolution of their love and partnership? Your personal reflections and insights are what make our storytelling community so incredibly vibrant, engaging, and profoundly meaningful. If you were deeply touched by this tale of a chance encounter that redefined futures, of values tested and rewarded, and of a love that proved to be the greatest treasure of all, please do take a moment to hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell. By doing so, you'll ensure that you are always the first to know when we share new stories that aim to inspire, to uplift, and to touch the very depths of the soul with their power, their hope, and their sheer, unadulterated humanity. And if this particular heartwarming narrative held your attention captive and left your heart soaring with a mixture of joy and profound satisfaction, please show your support and appreciation by giving this video a big, heartfelt thumbs up. It genuinely helps our channel more than you can possibly imagine, and is so very important in allowing us to continue bringing these powerful, positive, and uplifting narratives to light for all of you. Thank you so very much for watching today, for dedicating your precious time to this incredible story, and for being such a wonderfully engaged and deeply valued part of our ever-growing community. We sincerely look forward to sharing another story with you very, very soon.